And a good hump day, Eagle fans. Show number 60. Nice round number. We've done 60 of these so far, or 59. Today will be the 60th. Birds 365 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. You got your Mac and Mac guys to hang with for the next couple hours. I'm Jody McDonald along with my partner, John McMullen. Johnny Mac, that looks like a nice shirt you got on. What do you got? The logo is just being clipped. No, you got to go the other way. Lean back.
So lean back. That just FanRag Sports. I don't know if you remember FanRag. That's who I used to work for. John Heyman used to work for there. A lot of big writers. It was a big deal for a very short period of time.
FanRag?
Yeah, I hate the name. I've always hated the name, but it's a nice shirt.
That's a very nice shirt, and I apologize for not remembering FanRag. My bad, because I'm a John McMullen
First thing when they hired me, I said, you got to change that name, guys. And they did change it, by the way. At the end, it was just FRS.
FRS? Okay. Yeah. Well, that's you got one of those shirts, too? Did they get you out an FRS shirt?
Do not have one. I got to think about it now that you said that, Jody. I do not believe I have one. I don't think by that time they were in deep negotiations to, of course, sell the company, which they ultimately did.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why they changed the name, by the way.
Just noticed a nice looking shirt you got on there today. I got your basic blue tee. So it's not a completely casual Wednesday. McMillan holding up our sartorial end of the bargain. So I thank him for that. We've got 2 hours.
The blazer when it's not 95 at some point.
Certainly, I have not worn a blazer, and you have not worn a blazer either. Are you planning on breaking out a blazer when the temperatures get below 90-something?
No, come on. It's too early in the morning. If it were an afternoon show, I probably would.
If it were an afternoon show, I'd be wearing less clothes, as a matter of fact. But that's something that no one really wants to hear me discuss at this time. I can pretty much assure you of that. All right, what are we going to talk about for the next 2 hours? Well, it would be the Philadelphia Eagles, the National Football League in general, but with a heavy lean toward the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm up this morning getting ready for the show. I going through my Twitter feed, and I see a tweet from our buddy Harry Mays from the Middle, and he reappropriated a clip from the Dan Sileo show a couple of weeks back that I had missed. Shame on me, my bad. I hadn't seen it, but I clicked on it when Harry tweeted it out, that Merrill Reese was on Dan Silio's show. And Merrill, who, of course, is a good, staunch Philadelphia Eagle backer, as the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, did tell Dan Sileo that the Philadelphia Eagles, without any inside information, Merrill said, it's just what I'm hearing, didn't say he got it directly from anyone inside the Eagles organization, said that I hear that they're close to trading Zach Ertz to the Buffalo Bills. Well, this was about 2 weeks ago. And as far as I know, unless you've got breaking news for us this morning, John, Zach Ertz, still a Philadelphia Eagle. So Merrill's inside info or non-inside info or guessing hasn't played itself out yet. We are now down to 27 days until the start of camp, which means we've got 27 more days to talk about why Zach Ertz is still here in Philadelphia. You don't really think anything's going to happen between now and camp, do you?
Between now and camp, potentially, but those days, I'll put it, your dad, we bring this up all the time. You bring it up, used to be a baseball general manager. Consider that opening of training camp is sort of a trade deadline. It's not, but it's a deadline. And that might spur some action. As you know, deadlines spur action. I mean, sure. That's what happens when you have to say, and the Eagles have to decide to themselves, their deadline is not a trade deadline, but it's a deadline to where do they want to deal with this? Do they want to deal with this controversy? And if they make the decision that it's not that big of a deal, we'll take the hit for a couple of days and everybody will move on to something else. Everything, something always happens in training camp. So it'll only be maybe 48, 72 hours, something of that nature. So if the Eagles make that cost benefit analysis and say, we can handle that, we can weather that storm, then he might be here. On the other hand, and I use Evan Mathis as the example back in the Chip Kelly era, back when they had mandatory minicamp, he didn't want him showing up. So there was all this wrangling back and forth. until the day of mandatory minicamp, and then the decision was made they had to go in a different direction. Deadline spawn action. That's what happens in professional sports. Right now, we're in the dead period. So, not only are the Eagles, so many guys are on vacation. Guys I asked to come on the show, just from a media standpoint, are on vacation. Everybody's in their downtime, understandably so. The biggest thing on the calendar today for the Eagles is Jason Kelsey and a couple teammates are going to be down at Sea Isle City, celebrity bartending. So if you're down there, maybe check in with the guys for Eagles autism. It's a dead period. So the Buffalo Bills are also on vacation, and they're also doing anything. But they're one of the teams we've speculated that they could use a tight end. They're in a position to where they're a legitimate contender. Now, people can argue back and forth and say they're not going to beat Kansas City. All you need is an injury. You want to be in place on that particular Sunday. If it's the AFC Championship game, you don't know if they can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They might be able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, as you saw in the Super Bowl, because of various injuries and who's playing and who's not playing. So they think they're a legitimate contender. That's why they need a tight end. That's why they make sense for Zach Ertz. It's always been one of those teams where people have speculated, okay, this is maybe where Zach is going to end up.
And, oh, by the way, speaking of injuries, remember, Patrick Mahomes did get hurt last year. Not a lengthy injury, but he did get hurt, and I thought he played hurt in the Super Bowl, as a matter of fact. He made one of the most amazing plays I've ever seen, almost parallel to the ground, was able to throw the ball about 20-some-odd yards downfield, and with accuracy, no less, while almost vertical to the field. But you're right. If Patrick Mahomes goes down, all of a sudden the Buffalo Bills and everyone else are that much more viable in the AFC. I'm trying to figure out where Merrill came up with Buffalo. I know the reports were out there. You certainly said it here on the show. Maybe it's the fact that Buffalo has said they would be willing to give up something. Our belief is that the Eagles have granted Zach Ertz and his agent the right to contact any team and negotiate with them based on the fact that the Eagles would be able to work out a trade with that organization. Maybe Buffalo has at least said they'd be willing to give up something in exchange for him. Probably not what the Eagles want and or asking for, but they would be willing to take on Zach Ertz and have the conversation about restructuring his contract. Maybe that's why Buffalo is a team that has been mentioned as a possible landing spot for Zach Ertz, that they'll at least not tell Eagles, pound sand on your request for a trade because we believe you're going to release him. And then we don't have to give up anything. So why would we give up anything? Maybe Buffalo feels strongly enough about Ertz that they said, yeah, we'll give you something.
Yeah, well, they might give him something. It depends. The thought process around the league is that Howie's wanted a third-round pick, and we all kind of chuckled at that. And he wanted to stay. The Chargers offered a fifth-round pick for Zach Ertz way back in the process. That wasn't enough. So I don't think they're going to – in Howie Roseman's mind, I should clarify that. I don't think they're getting anything better than a fifth-round pick at this point. In fact, I think it's going down, if anything. So I think when people look at the Bills, it's more of, okay, it's a contender. Zach would probably want to go there, although you have to be concerned about he's a West Coast guy, Western New York, bad weather, all that. You don't even know if that enters in the equation. And then even more than that is the fact that the Bills don't have a tight end. I think Dawson Knox, who was a third-round pick in 2019 maybe, is projected to be their starting tight end. They have Jacob Hollister there, who was with Seattle. People might remember him, but they don't have a legitimate tight end. So I think it just has more to do with you look at teams around the league and say, okay, who needs a tight end? And on the back end of that, it's, oh, this team's pretty good. And if they get a tight end, it makes them that much better. So maybe from their standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. I think it's more of just people connecting those dots.
J-Mac, speaking of deadlines, I did read something either last night or the night before, I don't remember which, about a deadline that is actually come and gone. It's not a hard deadline, but it's a judging by past performance deadline. Usually, by this time in the calendar, HBO has announced which team is going to be the subject of the upcoming season's Hard Knocks. Are you a Hard Knocks fan? Let me start there.
I was a big fan at the start of the show. I think it's gotten it tends to be like all of those things. I think it's gotten a little bit watered down. I think it's gotten a little bit formulaic. I sound like a movie critic, but they do the same thing every year. They focus on one kid who's probably not going to make the team, and you start rooting for him and say, "Oh, this is a good," that type of thing. So. I loved it when it first came out. I don't think it's nearly as good now, but it's still fun. I think All or Nothing has been better in recent seasons for whatever reason. That's their version of Hard Knocks.
Right.
Interestingly, I thought the Eagles season, though, wasn't that good. But overall, I think that's been the better show. But I think it's always fun for fans to see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. I think that part is fun.
And I'll tell you that I actually still like Hard Knocks better than any of the knockoffs that have come out, just because I think HBO does things better than other broadcast outlets. I think they've got quality production and are on top of things more. You're right. Anything you've done for 15 seasons, which, by the way, this upcoming season will be the 16th of Hard Knocks. Yeah, it's going to get a little repetitive, and it can't be quite as fresh. But I think they do a damn good job of trying to keep it fresh, despite the fact that they've already done 15 seasons. The reason I bring it up is, as I said, they have not named the team for this upcoming year.
Because nobody ever wants to do it.
That's where I'm going to next. Usually they have a team that they're ready to announce that they're going to be following and do the same Hard Knocks things that they've done in previous years in late June. Well, today's the 30th, so late June is quickly coming and going as of the rest of the day here, and no team has been named. They, a couple of years ago, decided to come out with rules for Hard Knocks, just so NFL teams would know if they were going to be asked if they would do it, if they have interest in doing it or not. They give teams outs, one of which is if you've got a new head coach. If you're turning over your coaching staff, then you are not going to be obligated. The NFL won't even ask you to be on Hard Knocks. They'll give you a pass to begin with, and that certainly includes the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Sirianni taking over. If you've been in the playoffs either of the last 2 years, then they're going to give you a pass because they want to try and get an up-and-coming team and almost an underdog team. Could this be the year kind of feel to it? So the Eagles have 2 get-out-of-jail-free cards, if you want to look at it that way, if they want to use them. So the chances are of the Eagles being the team that agrees to do it are not good, are probably pretty remote. But if you use those criteria, or if you've been the Hard Knocks team at all over the last 10 times they've done Hard Knocks, that too would give you a pass. The Eagles actually qualifying on that one because not only have they not done it in the last 10 years, the Eagles have never been the Hard Knocks team. It comes down to only a couple of teams that actually do qualify for Hard Knocks that would be not eliminated by the ways you can get eliminated. The Cardinals, the Panthers, the Broncos, and 2 of the Eagles' competitors in the NFC East, the Giants and the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys actually surprised me because they're almost always on Hard Knocks. At least it seemed that way because they were on twice in like a 4 or 5 year period.
And Jerry would like to do it. I mean, Jerry likes that stuff. Jerry invites that stuff. So he's the one guy who embraces it. Everybody else, Jody, first of all, I want to say bravo to you for doing this research because I those Hard Knocks rules. I know rookie head coaches. I know that right off the bat. The rest of them, I'm like, I don't give a crap about the Hard Knock rules. But
hey, you're not as big a fan. I still like Hard Knocks.
No, I meant as a whole. Like
watch TV for me. That set the DVR for me.
Well, early on, I agree. As I said, like when it first started, it was a great, great show. It took you behind the scenes. It was all that kind of stuff. But I go back. We were having this discussion. I forget with who about the secretive nature of the NFL. These teams think it's a competitive disadvantage to be on Hard Knocks. I would like somebody in the NFL, and I hope somebody out there is listening. I would like somebody in the NFL to point me to an episode of Hard Knocks that caused them to lose a football game. I mean, the absurdity of the secretive nature of this league, except for Jerry Jones. I'm going to give Jerry Jones credit, which people on Birds 365 aren't going to like. He doesn't give a you-know-what. Yeah, bring it on. It's great for the Dallas Cowboys. It would be great for every team. And they look at it the exact opposite, Jody. The exact opposite. And that's every team in this league, with the exception of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, you would think that the NFL is national defense secrets, the tightness that they play.
And they come up with those rules, Jody, to force teams to do this. They should be falling over themselves to get an opportunity to do it, to increase their brand, to build their brands.
So I gave you the 5 teams that actually aren't given a pass that should have to show up, which, by the way, has it been 2 years since the Cowboys won a division? No, the Eagles won it the year before that, and last year was Washington football team. So Dallas hasn't won the division in 2 years. So, yes, they are certainly eligible, which means Jerry may be lobbying, and that may be where they go, and it'll be all about Dak Prescott coming back from his injury, blah, 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 blah. That's got a distinct possibility. I did see that in the article that I wrote, there's a possibility that although they're not on this list of the 5 that are most eligible, the Jacksonville Jaguars may go there. I don't know if Urban Meyer has been debriefed in how secretive you must be in the National Football League. Urban's a media guy who's not afraid to talk to the cameras, so that with the turnaround there with Lawrence at quarterback, with a whole new coaching, they might actually want to be on it, and they might volunteer to be on it. So my question to you is, should Jeffrey Lurie take a page out of Jerry Jones's book? That if you believe, like Jerry does, that it increases your brand if you're on a national, well-viewed broadcast about your organization, which, yes, you have some control. HBO is going to do what HBO is going to do. You can tell them, yeah, well, we're not going to let you shoot this, and here's something we're planning on doing, and you can massage the actual production of the show if you're the NFL team by what you do and don't allow their cameras to see. Should the Eagles be thinking about this? Does their brand need a boost across the nation by being on HBO's Hard Knocks?
Yeah, I mean, I just said it for every team. I'm not going to put the Eagles outside of the box. Now, they just did All or Nothing a couple of years ago, so I don't think they're interested in it. But yeah, especially if you look at it, and not necessarily the brand, because I think we all know the brand is pretty strong, even coming off a bad season. We know what the Eagles are in Philadelphia, in the Delaware Valley. It's the reason this show exists. So they have no problem with that aspect. But I got news for you, Jody. Nationally, we see it all the time. Jason Cole was the latest we had on the show yesterday. He said some pretty harsh things about Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. And you know, around the league, this has been a consistent theme that nobody believes in this team because of the head coach and the quarterback. Well, guess what? You put them on Hard Knocks, you increase the brand. Some people see the passion of Nick Sirianni that they always talk about. That doesn't come across on the Zoom call, Jody.
Right.
He only seems to get in trouble on the Zoom calls. But if you see him in his element, he's a lot more comfortable. The few practices we were able to go to, it's a lot different. And you get a different view into why the Eagles like Nick Sirianni. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. You get a different view into how respected he is at such a young age. That's the most impressive thing about me around his teammates and just the natural leadership skills we always talk about. You build up their personal brands, and that helps to build up Eagles. So, yeah, but I think you could run down all 32 teams. I just said it's a positive for all of them, and only one recognizes it. So you can rip Jerry Jones all you want, and I know Eagles fans love to do it. He's the most powerful owner in this league for a reason. And that reason is because, and this is going to rub people the wrong way as well, I sound like Howard Eskin. We were talking about Howard before the show when he was a Cowboys fan. Jerry Jones is the smartest owner in the NFL from a business perspective, and it's not close.
Well, the numbers have been crunched, and the value of the Dallas Cowboys just keeps going up and up and up into the billions. So, yes, you are correct. But do me a favor, Xander, the fine producer of the show. Make sure you clip that and get that little segment that John McMullen just did and send it to Jeff Lurie and let him know that it might be a good idea for the Philadelphia Eagles to be on Hard Knocks. Now, they're probably within days, if not hours, of announcing who it is, and if I were
by the way, I
man,
think it's going to be Carolina. That's my
you do out of the five that I told you that made the most sense.
Yeah.
Giants, Cowboys, Carolina, the Cardinals, and one more. I'm forgetting who the other one was. You think it's going to be Carolina?
I do.
Cardinals, Panthers, Broncos. The Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah, I'm not holding out, but a new general manager might be kind of interesting with them. I'll tell you that Jerry does it again, and it ends up being the Cowboys. But why not the Eagles? I'm putting my vote in right now. Eagles for Hard Knocks. McMullen has told me why I should be voting for the Eagles on Hard Knocks.
They don't have to go on because of the rookie head coach. They're not even considering it, Jody.
Well, no. You can volunteer.
Yeah, you can volunteer, but I'm saying they're not volunteering. They're not volunteering.
That's my point. I'm suggesting, as per the soliloquy I just heard from John McMullen, the Eagles should volunteer for Hard Knocks.
I'm smart. They're dumb, Jody. Well, I'm smart. They're dumb. They're not volunteering for anything.
Xander, don't include that part where John says he's smart and the Eagles are dumb. Kind of edit that out for the clip you're going to send to Jeff Lurie, because I want to see this happen. I want the Eagles on Hard Knocks this year. All right, we'll get a third opinion on this. Coming up next, we got our first guest of the day. One of our favorites. You read him on Bleeding Green Nation all the time. BLG, Brandon Lee Gowton joins us on Birds 365.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
but as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on three. 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. is a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Hump Day Wednesday, gathering of Birds 365 with you, Mac and Mac guys. We've got a chance to chat with another Philadelphia Eagle insider. Does a great job covering the team day in and day out for his website, Bleeding Green Nation. Brandon Lee Gowton here with us on Birds 365. BLG, how was vacay? We reached out last week. You said, no, sorry, guys, I'm out of town. I'm getting a little downtime in. How was vacay?
It was good. I went up to Boston, had a nice little week there, and now I'm back. It probably ended too soon, but here I am.
Yeah. It's vacation time, PLG, and I got to do that. I got to do the PLG thing.
Of course.
But, the Eagles are on vacation as well. We're going to talk about that Hard Knocks thing. You probably heard Jody and I talking about it. The Eagles aren't volunteering for that. But I want to talk to you about Zach Ertz first because we're in the down period. Everybody is on vacation. The Eagles, a lot of the Eagles are on vacation. Bills, same way. I mean, they're not doing much in Buffalo as well. So if you look at July 27th as sort of a drop-dead date, is it just come down to the Eagles accepting Zach Ertz showing up, or if they want to get him out of here? Is that sort of the self-imposed deadline?
I mean, it kind of feels like it, right? I mean, it feels like I think there's a weird assumption out there that it's like, oh, the Eagles can just bring him back. And first of all, I think it's very clear. We all know that Zach Ertz doesn't want to be here, but I don't necessarily think the Eagles want him here either, because this is a guy who is going to, if they move on from him, they can clear $8.5 million, as we know, in cap space. And I don't think they want to be dedicating all of those resources to a aging tight end who is coming off a very bad season. And when they admittedly are not looking at this as a all-in kind of year, and they're kind of taking a more long-term approach to this, I think the cap space you can save by moving on from Zach Ertz kind of helps you more in the long term than it does this year. So I just feel like it's going to almost have to be resolved by then. Maybe I am underestimating Howie Roseman's stubbornness in getting something for him or dragging this out, but to me it feels like there has to be a deadline for this.
Should be. And the Eagles have their own beliefs on what the deadline is that they're not sharing with anybody right now, which they shouldn't because it's good business. But here's the one question I would have for Howie Roseman and you, the way you laid it out, PLG. The $8.5 million opening of cap they will be able to do when Zach Ertz becomes the next Philadelphia Eagle. If that is really important, and we are where we are in the offseason and the Eagles have X amount of moves, we don't know what those would include between now and the first game of the season, they would actually benefit if they were going to use it for a upgraded cornerback. If they're going to use it for an upgrade anywhere else, what are they planning on? And if they are planning and they believe that they still need to upgrade this team, does the fourth-round pick, the fifth-round pick, does really make that much of a difference to them? Because while you don't get these players signed, they can sign with somebody else. So they're dragging their feet a little bit. If it is as important as you're making it out to be, isn't immediacy more involved here? That they need to get this done now so they can use that extra cap room that they have? Aren't they really risking with every passing day that they're going to lose out on a free agent who's still out there that they might want because they're dedicated to get some kind of draft pick in exchange for Zach Ertz?
Yeah, I don't know that they're really desperate to make that move just from the standpoint of again, it's not an all-in kind of year. So I don't know that there's a guy out there, a cornerback, let's say, that they must have and that they'd be devastated necessarily if they didn't get. I'm sure everyone, has Steven Nelson on the brain for an Eagles fan right now, because you look at their cornerback situation and it's Michael JAKIB as their starting quarterback too, maybe right now, or Devonta Maddox again. or Craig James. Who knows? I don't know. Not really a good situation when we don't know, and maybe the Eagles don't even know who their starting quarterback 2 is. But I don't even think it's like that. Again, it's not even necessarily about spending the cap space right now. It's about having it for right now, potentially, if the right move comes along, the right deal is there, or more importantly, probably for the future. I don't think you can tell me that spending the money on Zach Ertz is the best use of resources for this team when you're looking at the long term of things moving forward.
Speaking of Steven Nelson, Brandon, and you got a lot of fan engagement at Bleeding Green Nation. Are fans talking themselves into Steven Nelson being some kind of difference maker? He's on the market June 30th. I believe today is June 30th. We're talking about $2 million deals versus maybe $3 million or $4 million. Are Eagles fans just setting themselves up for the big ball when they say, oh, we got Steven Nelson, and then they see him week 1 and they go, oh, we got Steven Nelson. He's better than Mike Jaquette, but he's probably not better than a lot of other outside starting corners in this league.
Yeah, I don't know that you're really getting a difference maker, a needle mover on June 30th. I think, obviously, again, the hole is so big that you would just like to see an upgrade there. So I get it. I get why people would be interested in signing pretty much any cornerback, let alone one who actually, has some track record of success like Steven Nelson does. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm looking at this as a long-term thing. My understanding, just based on what the Eagles have said, Jeffrey Lurie has said, is the Eagles are looking at this as a long-term thing. So I don't even know necessarily what let's say a 1-year deal signing Steven Nelson really accomplishes in the long term. It could make the team better this year, and I think there's some value in that. But to act like you sign him and that kind of just is like some kind of paradigm shift, that's not really it for me.
And you're right. Anyone I sign at this point is not going to be a paradigm shift guy. Love that term. All right. So I've already ticked off Eagle Nation by suggesting they really should think about going on Hard Knocks, which, by the way, yes, I didn't ask you. My bad. I just asked you about vacation first. Should the Eagles be on Hard Knocks? Should they volunteer? Should Jeff Lurie get either the head of HBO and or Roger Goodell on the phone this morning and say, we're volunteering. We want the HBO cameras in Philadelphia. I say yes. John said no. BLG, what do you say?
Well, I think we all know the answer is, will they be doing that? No. That's not up for debate. Should they? Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Yeah. I mean, look, this team right now, maybe it's just me, but I feel like there's never been less juice about an Eagles team going into a season. At least it's been a while. If not ever. It's been a long time. I just think the Eagles are in this weird spot where they won the Super Bowl a few years ago, so you still have that happy memory in the rear view, but they've been kind of just hard to watch in recent years, not aesthetically not pleasing to watch, not entertaining. Now, obviously, there's a new coaching staff and a new starting quarterback, so there are some levels of intrigue here. There are some new elements, but really, when you just consider the national buzz around this team, and I think it's fair to say no one reads or maybe listens to more Eagle stuff than I do, but there isn't any. There's just no kind of really juice around this team. So to have Hard Knocks and maybe actually kind of uncover some things that are even more worthwhile and interesting to pay attention to and form more of a connection with this team, I think that would be nice. But I'm not holding my breath on that one.
Yeah, and by the way, context, Brandon, I said the same thing as you. Will they volunteer? Absolutely not. Should they volunteer? Absolutely. And my reason, you talked about national guys. We get a lot of national guys on this show, Brandon, and there is no juice. Nobody from a national perspective believes in this team. We had Jason Cole on yesterday. He was not kind to Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. He's a straight shooter. My point is, Nick, you don't get to see when he's in front of the Zoom cameras. You don't get to see the passion, the energy. And when you do get to see it, it comes across kind of goofy. If you put him on Hard Knocks, maybe people get to see him behind the scenes. Maybe people get to see what the Eagles see in Nick Sirianni. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. Nobody believes in him. He's 52% accuracy from a national perspective. If you see him behind the scenes and how his teammates gravitate toward him, maybe you up his sort of brand and you start to get some juice with the team. Why did the Eagles not recognize this stuff? They they're so secretive. They want nothing. Why, Brandon? I want an answer to why. You're there every day with me. Why? I can't figure it out.
I think it's just like it's the culture of the NFL, right? Everything has to be like everything is like a state secret. It's like, but it's really not. It's really not that serious. It's not like, oh, you're gonna go on Hard Knocks and now your entire plans are exposed and you're gonna have a disaster of a season and you're never gonna recover. I mean, look, the Eagles have been pretty bad the past couple of years without being on Hard Knocks and without having those revealed. Would they have been even worse if they were? I kind of doubt it. Maybe, I don't know if it would have made a difference at all. So, yeah, I think, though, like to the point of kind of adding more intrigue to this team, I think that's something the Eagles should be wanting to do. Like, I think, I feel like that's something they should be able to be smart about and should be able to recognize. Like, hey, we're not really the talk of the league. Like, we're kind of just irrelevant here. Why don't we kind of put ourselves in the spotlight a little bit more, get the fans a little bit more excited? They want to promote their product. I feel like that's the best way to do it.
All right, so suggestion number 1 from Jody Mack today, volunteer for Hard Knocks. I got shot down by both of you two guys and the Eagles as well. Although you both agree would be a good idea, but you say it's got no shot of happening. I foolishly am grasping at the possibility. All right, here's suggestion number 2 from Jody Mack today, which I think I'll get the same response I did for suggestion number 1. Main punt returner for the Philadelphia Eagles for the 2021 season, Devonta Smith.
Ooh. I
watched him do it a couple of times at Alabama, saw him take a ball to the house. We know what kind of skills this guy has. They are talking about competition down there at Eagle Land, and Nick Sirianni is Mr. Competition. I guarantee you, if they have an open competition, Devonta Smith is going to be the best guy returning punts. Go ahead and just give him the job. No, but they don't do that either because they won't even tell us that Jalen Hurts is a starting quarterback. So I'm suggesting week 1, first time Eagles actually get a defensive stop, Devonta Smith drops back to return the punts. What kind of shot do I have, guys?
I feel like that's being underrated. Like we all talk about his receiving ability and winning the Heisman and everything. I feel like that's a good point, Jody. Is like I don't think we talk enough about like some of the promise he showed as a returner. To me, I mean, I just can't see him being a full-time guy when he's probably having like the most targets potentially on the offense. Like I can't imagine him being this volume target on offense and then also handling punt return duty. To me, I would use Devonta Smith in that role, kind of like the Eagles would use Deshaun Jackson in like later years, where like you kind of need a spark, you need a big play, you're kind of desperate, or you kind of do it sparingly. I would put Jalen Reagor back there full time and hope that he can figure it out, because I think you kind of need that to help salvage his career. Maybe he can build some confidence as a receiver if he can kind of get things going on special teams. Maybe I would like to see Devonta Smith more than never as a punt returner, but not you can't do it full time.
Yeah, Dave Vipp used to call it high leverage situations. Maybe you see him in a high leverage situation late in the game if you need a punt return. I'm going to make a prediction, Brandon. He's not even going to get a rep in practice until later.
Wow.
Until later in the process, because they want him to get up to speed at wide receiver. And as you mentioned, I think, Jody, your guy, Greg Ward, is going to have an opportunity to win that job because it's about ball security first, then Jalen Reagor. But even that, Brandon, I think, because they want him to ramp up at receiver. So I think he gets Keep an eye on Michael Walker. And you're going to go, who? And that's the guy they picked up from Jacksonville. Dave Caldwell's here. He was a great returner in college. If he makes this team, and if you're a 5th, 6th receiver, you got to make it on special teams. If he's their best punt returner, Michael Walker might make this team. And I got to check if I got the name right. Did I get the name right, Brandon?
Yeah.
You did. You did.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that guy.
Yeah. As everyone should, and everyone does. But Devonta Smith is too important to the offense to be a full-time punt returner. I'm 100% with Brandon there.
That's unfortunate because I think Devonta Smith can actually take a couple ones to the house. And even though I love my guy, president of the Greg Ward fan club, he's not going to break any for a touchdown. So I would prefer to see Mr. Smith and my guy. BLG, we have a new head coach, but we also have a new defensive coordinator. John and I talk more about the big picture and the overall coaching staff. But Coach Gannon taking over the defense and his hits philosophy of doing things. The one thing I kind of raise my eyebrows when I hear him talk is about how they're going to be able to get turnovers. That the turnovers is key to winning defensively in the National Football League, and his defense is going to play with the kind of intensity that's going to give them turnovers. Can you really coach turnovers? I've never heard a coach say, yeah, I've got the philosophy. I've got the means by which we're going to get X amount of turnovers a game. I think that's pretty much impossible. So is therefore his philosophy kind of questionable going in? If you believe that, well, you can't program turnovers. You can't come up with specific plays that are going to lend themselves to turnovers. Will this Eagle team be a good turnover team this year because of the coach's philosophy?
I don't think that makes, like a world's difference. Maybe there's certain things you can emphasize. Certain coaches maybe do it better than others. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, you got to have playmakers. And do the Eagles really have playmakers in the secondary? I mean, Anthony Harris, had 6 interceptions in 2019. Maybe he gets back to form, working with Jonathan Gannon, and that goes well for him. Darius Slay earlier in his career, not so much recently, was able to get, quite a few interceptions. So, maybe that kind of comes back for him. Although, these are players who are kind of getting older, not ascending players. So that's kind of my concern there. And then outside of that, who do you really feel good about as guys who are consistently going to get turnovers, going to take the ball away from the other team? I don't know who those guys are. Maybe Fletcher Cox again, rebounds. Maybe Brandon Graham has a big year, but there's a lot of maybes there, like I said. And again, aging players, not like ascending young guys who you feel super confident in.
Plus, Brandon, what defensive coordinator in the history of the NFL goes up to the podium day one and say, I don't want to create turnovers? Everybody wants to create turnovers. I get a kick out of these. We want to be aggressive. I'm looking for the first defensive coordinator. No, we're going to lay back. We're just going to be very passive, and we're just going to see where this takes us. In a lot of ways, obviously, it's about getting your players playing fast, and that, in theory, pressure obviously helps you create turnovers. So the more substantive part of Jonathan Gannon, it seems like they're going to play a lot of cover 2, a lot of cover 3 to kind of protect the back end and maybe have a little bit more Mike Zimmer-ish A-gap pressure. Maybe this sort of Leo rusher, Ryan Kerrigan, would be most notable. Anything else you're getting a feel for what that defense is going to look like as far as a change from Jim Schwartz?
Well, I would just say, going back to kind of the turnover thing too, and maybe what we can expect from the defense in terms of player performance, that's kind of where it really comes down to me, is just like cornerbacks maybe playing up to their potential. We'll see, because you just look at the history, the track record of Jonathan Gannon, and we've seen some cornerbacks have success. You look at Xavier Rhodes, who, struggled in Minnesota and got cut. And then you have Chris Ballard, like the coach GM, like name dropping Jonathan Gannon last year, saying like Jonathan Gannon is a big reason why like the Xavier Rhodes signing looks smart for me, because like he really turned him around. So the Eagles haven't really had anyone who can really develop and draft and get these cornerbacks playing up to their potential. So I think from that kind of a coaching standpoint, maybe there's some hope there that he knows how to either get through to these guys on, like technique or whatever it is, or just like you said, kind of playing fast, like feeling comfortable in the scheme, whatever the secret sauce is. It seems like he might have some of that. And I guess like that is a point of optimism.
Since we're talking about turnovers and we're talking about the fact that the Eagles could use an upgraded cornerback, no one is going to argue that. And we're talking about the fact that when is this going to happen? How is this going to happen? And Howie Roseman himself has pointed out a couple of times when he needed to upgrade a cornerback, he made a trade after camp had already started. So people continue to, maybe he'll trade for another cornerback. All right, down that road. Xavier Howard of the Miami Dolphins. Not only is he a turnover guy, a bunch of picks last year, Johnny on the spot, would certainly fill a void for the Eagles, not only a hole, but if the defensive coordinator is set on getting turnovers, he could certainly be an answer to that. Well, you were checking a lot of boxes here. Could Howie Roseman turn to the Miami Dolphins? They've got draft capital that they can certainly afford to give up. Is a trade for Xavier Howard a possibility for the Philadelphia Eagles, PLG?
I don't think so. I think all those points you made are fair. There's an injury concern here. He missed 11 games in 2019. Also missed 4 games 2018. Played 7 as a rookie. So hasn't always been like the healthiest guy. There's some injury risk. I think the Eagles aren't just going to pay that much money to both Darius Slay and Xavier Howard. It's a lot of money, quarterback. And again, if you're hiring a defensive coordinator who's supposed to kind of get more out of less at quarterback, then I don't think it's like the best decision to like put super premium resources into that position as well. And the other thing is, I don't think the Eagles are making any kind of really big trade with any kind of those picks they have until they have, more clarity at the quarterback position. Like those picks are kind of being reserved, I feel like, until they really like to make that move at quarterback if they have to. I don't think they're doing anything with those before they get more clarity on Hurts.
All right, let's talk about the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, Brandon, because I agree with you. I think the Eagles are kind of holding back with those picks in case they have to go do whatever they have to go do, whether it's go up in the draft, whether it's trade for Deshaun Watson next year if things are cleared up. So my question to you is, and I've asked this of a lot of people, and I want to get your thoughts on it, is can Jalen Hurts do anything to win this job with the way the Eagles are set up? In other words, if you look at it from a national perspective, the number's 6.5 wins. So even if they overachieve, say get to 8-9 or somewhere in that range, even 9-8, I think that would be probably the ceiling of this team. Is that enough to say, okay, we're not going to go get a player like Deshaun Watson. We're not going to go get a top 5 pick if we can get a top 5 pick. Is there anything Jalen Hurts can do in 1 year to be the future of this team at quarterback?
I think the odds are kind of stacked against him here, but in a way that kind of works in his favor if you look at it as if he thrives in spite of less than ideal circumstances, then that kind of shows you, okay, like maybe there is something here with this guy. I think the bar for me, I've said this for a while now, is like Jalen Hurts has to leave no doubt. Like if there's any kind of doubt at all, like if there's any kind of question about him being the guy heading into next offseason, then the Eagles are going to look to pivot. And that doesn't necessarily mean to me that they're going to like cut him or trade him or move on from him right away. Or maybe they bring in an option and it's kind of a competition, as Nick Sirianni likes to talk about, and always competing. But I think it kind of has to be a situation where Jalen Hurts just leaves no doubt. Everyone is like, yeah, this is the guy. The teammates love him. The coaching staff loves him. The fans love him. Like he kind of just wins everyone over. The team, maxes out. They do as much as they kind of reasonably can this year. Maybe that is only 9-10 wins. But I think it kind of has to be that situation. And then anything short of that, again, and then it's a high bar to clear, then I think they're going to look to pivot.
Isn't that worst case scenario a competition? And I know Nick Sirianni doesn't want to look at it this way, but I do. You want Jalen Hurts to either outright win it and have a Joe Flacco-like backup, Nick Mullins-like backup, unquestionably, here's the order of the Eagles quarterback, or guess what? He's not good enough. We got to draft a quarterback in the first 5 picks, or we got to make a deal for a Deshaun Watson. I'm kind of hoping for a definitive answer at quarterback going into 2022. Not a competition. Sorry, Coach Sirianni. Not what I'm looking for. Competition for quarterback in 2022.
Sure. I mean, yeah, obviously you want a definitive answer. Ideally, it is Jalen Hurts for the Eagles, and he just plays great because then you can use all those draft picks to just add talent around him instead of having to go out and get another quarterback, and potentially one, if you're paying for a veteran like Deshaun Watson, on a contract instead of one of the biggest advantages in the NFL, a player on a rookie contract. So, but I don't know the likelihood of that. I think it's probably less likely than more likely. And yeah, obviously if you can get the proven option, if you can get a player, either if it's Deshaun Watson and everything clears out, or Russell Wilson, or however that shakes out there, then yeah, you want that definitive answer. I mean, ideally, the Eagles put themselves in a position this year where the roster kind of looks ready to win now, and whether that is with Jalen Hurts, most ideal, or without, and then you kind of just get the quarterback as the missing piece. That would be really nice. So yeah, I mean, I think the only situation if it's a competition is like if Jalen Hurts kind of looks good, but maybe not totally sold on him, and then the Eagles kind of can't get a veteran, so they're drafting a rookie, but maybe it's not, like the number 1 overall pick. Maybe they can't trade up that high, even though they have these picks. They're kind of just bringing in a rookie in the first round, and they're kind of having him compete with Hurts, and they'll probably beat out Jalen Hurts at that point. But I think that's kind of the situation I was talking about.
All right, Brandon, last one from me. You talked a little bit about Xavier Howard, and I agree with you. I don't think the Eagles are making a trade splash at this point. So I want to get your pre-4th of July breakout players on both sides of the football. One caveat, though. It can't be Devonta Smith, because I think we all know he's going to be the guy at receiver. So I want a breakout candidate on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball.
I'm going to go with Travis Fulgham, who kind of had a little bit of a breakout last season when he led the NFL in receiving for 5 weeks, which is an insane thing to say looking back. I don't think he is – I think the kind of conversation shifted from, oh, wow, look at this guy. We're really excited about him, to, oh, he was never that good. That was kind of a fluke. And I think there are legitimate concerns there with Travis Fulgham in terms of kind of work ethic and everything. And Aaron Moorhead kind of touched on that when we heard from him recently within the past month or so. But I think there's something there. Aaron Moorhead also said, like, there is something there with that guy. And I kind of believe that. And I think he's going to have the opportunity on this team. It's not like the Eagles are necessarily chock full of wide receiver talent. And I think Travis Fulgham there might be hope for him yet. So I still have some hope in him. We saw the talent last year. And then defensively, I'm probably going to say Derek Barnett, who it feels kind of silly to say that we're still waiting for a first-round pick from 2017 to break out in year 5 finally. But presumably, like, fingers crossed for Derek Barnett's sake, he's finally healthy, actually, for the first time, like, since his rookie year, entering a season. And it's a huge year for him, because he's on this 5th-year option. He's playing for that next contract. I believe he's only still 24. He's young. I think we haven't necessarily seen the best of what Derek Barnett has to do. I think there's still some hope for him to kind of take this next step. Maybe he could really make a big leap and kind of be a double-digit sack guy this year. And if not, and if we kind of just see more of the same, that'll be pretty disappointing and also kind of a weird spot for the Eagles to be in, where it's like, all right, do we resign this guy or do we not? So Fulgham and Barnett, those are my guys this year.
I hope you're right about Barnett. I fear that you are wrong. I'm sorry. My patience is up. The breakout year for Derek Barnett. 3 years waiting. I'm not banking on year 4, but that's me. Last one, BLG. Coach P, Dougie P, back in town yesterday. Another charity golf tournament. That's such a good gig. Fly in for charity golf tournaments. Get the hell out of Dodge. I wish I had a deal like that. But more power to him, and the Eagles are paying him this year anyway. But he did say that he still has a desire to coach in the National Football League, not necessarily this year. And I don't think you want to take over a team at this stage anyway. But starting in 2022 or 23 or whatever, what will determine Doug's viability? His record is what it is. Certainly peaks and valleys. Really high peak, a.k.a. Super Bowl win. But the valley's there too, and he'll be judged on that. But things that could happen in the 2021 season that he, of course, would have no control over include what the Eagles do and what Carson Wentz does in Indianapolis. How bad does it have to go here in Philadelphia and in Indianapolis for Doug Peterson to get a gig in 2022?
So you're saying Doug's stock could be pretty high if it's a bad Eagles season and Carson Wentz doesn't do so well in Indy.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
It's a fair point.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an impossible scenario either. So, I think Doug will have some kind of market next year. I mean, look at these NFL hiring cycles, where, Jason Garrett got an interview apparently for the Chargers job last. Why? Yeah. The Giants aren't even good. And come on. So if Doug isn't at least getting interviews next year, that would be a joke. Obviously it depends on how many openings. If there's quite a few, then I think, he should be in the mix. And I hope to see Doug get a chance again. I think, wouldn't that be interesting to see how Doug gets to do kind of when he's maybe in a situation where it's not just he's a total or he's kind of being used like a puppet and he actually kind of maybe gets some power and gets some say. That could be interesting.
Good stuff, BLG. Glad you had a great week on vacay. We're looking forward to talking to you as we get up toward camp and then all the way through the season. Everybody's got to check out Bleeding Green Nation for all the great insights that Brandon Lee brings on a day-in, day-out basis and whenever he hops on with us here on Birds 365. Thanks, brother. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.
There it is.
BLG.
It's a wrestling reference. What can you got to put up with that if you're going to watch Mac and Mac. If it's McMullen and McDonald, you're going to get that from time to time. All right, quickie time out here on Birds 365. Come back. I got a couple more things I want to run by John. Kevin Kinkead from Crossing Broad is going to hop on. John got him to come on the show last night. Apparently, these two guys have an issue with video that is being sent out by the Eagles starting quarterback right now. I don't. I actually enjoy it.
I don't have an issue. I have an issue with people making a big deal out of it.
Okay.
That's what I've been. And it started with Ben Simmons. So you're going to get some Ben Simmons talk, which I know everyone.
I will agree with you and disagree with that on that. I know we will explain when we get back here on Birds 365.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull beef jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
A hump day edition of Birds 365 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. John McMullen, Jody McDonald hanging with you. Got an hour left to play. And during that hour, we will talk about video being sent out featuring the Eagles. I guess we could call him number one quarterback, lead quarterback, top quarterback. Just can't call him the starting quarterback because the coach says there's still a competition.
We can call him the starting quarterback because we don't lie, Jody. We can call him the starting quarterback. We
can give you our opinion. And it's a pretty substantiated opinion that Jalen Hurts is going to be the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, I guess, was it his directed Instagram account that sent out video of Jalen working out in Alabama over the last couple of days? Or was it someone else's that I was able to pick up on Twitter?
I got it from somebody else. I assume, by the way, there's no problem with this. I talk about it all the time and my aspect, and that's why I'm going to bring Kevin on. But my point is, you see this around the NFL. I talked about building brands when we were talking about Hard Knocks. This is building brands for players. This is the reason they do this. I have no issue with it whatsoever. From Jalen Hurts' perspective, I know the kid's a hard worker because he's working every day when nobody's there. But, you know, they have agents. Nicole Lynn is Jalen's agent. You know, they have brand ambassadors, they got people building up their brands. And this is all professional athletes. My only question is, man, fans get so pumped up by these things, and they're meaningless. They're meaningless other than, hey, if you want to have some fun and watching, you know, Jalen Hurts throw the football to Devonta Smith in Alabama, great. I mean, yeah, it's exciting to think about what could be down the road. My only caveat to that is, and this is why I bring up Ben Simmons, we went through this year after year after year. Oh, look what Ben Simmons is doing with an empty gym. Look what he's doing. He's shooting threes. He's got to be spectacular. It doesn't matter. It's all I'm trying to say. It does not matter about putting video, and well-produced video, by the way, on any kind of social media platform. It doesn't mean anything. Show me the footwork drills. That's what I'm interested in. Show me the mechanical stuff. That's what I'm interested. Is it consistent? Give me the full hour, and then maybe I can tell you something.
Here's the difference between, and I see the parallel you're trying to draw between Ben Simmons and Jalen Hurts. It's just too obvious not to be able to see. But there's a significant difference between the two, at least as far as I'm concerned. I truly believe that Ben Simmons people sent it out for a reason. And the reason was to make people believe, reel in the less than initiated who think, ooh, he's making jump shots. That means he's going to make jump shots for us this year. Yes, they're playing to a percentage. It's a small percentage, but it should be a minuscule percentage. Unfortunately, it's small, that are actually going to read something into this and parlay that into belief of what he's going to do when he puts back on a Sixer uniform in a game that counts in the NBA. Shame on you if you fell for that stuff. But Jalen Hurts isn't even trying that. As you mentioned, tremendously produced. It's slow motion.
Yeah.
You can watch the rotation of the football as he throws it downfield. Yeah. It's complete and utter entertainment. That's all that it is. It is not meant for you to judge, even by deception, that Jalen Hurts' accuracy is better, because I'm watching this slow motion replay, this slow motion video in which you can count the grips on the football. It's going so slow that means his percentage is going to increase this year as a quarterback in the league. They're not. Now you're talking about actually playing to a minuscule. If you're stupid enough to fall for this, that after watching this video, damn, 53%, no way, he's hitting 75 this year. Do you see the tightness to that spiral? Do you see? No. If you are getting sucked in by this, then that's your problem. That's your fault. That's ridiculous. It's
well,
just,
people are getting sucked in, Jody. It might be a minuscule.
You're insulting Eagle fans.
But
you're spitting in the face of Eagle fans. The Eagle fans can't be that stupid. They can't.
I always tell the Sixers fans that's stupid with Ben Simmons.
Yes, there were some stupid Sixer fans. Too many.
There's too many who take this stuff seriously. That's all I'm saying. Now, I hope you're right. Because. And by the way, you probably are right. I think the majority doesn't contact you. The majority doesn't tag you. The majority doesn't ask questions. So they're like, you're right. They're like, oh, this is cool, blah, blah, blah. I get to see Jalen Hurts with Devonta Smith. But there is that small group, and obviously that's the vocal group. This is going to be awesome. This guy looks great. This guy's doing this. To me, it's just utter absurdity. But again, I have no problem from Jalen's perspective, from Devonta Smith's perspective. And I criticize Carson Wentz for not working out as much as he typically would during the pandemic. A lot of that had to do with him being a first-time father. He had scheduled a trip to Texas to work out with receivers, and the pandemic kind of hit and they had to scale things back. So I criticized him for not doing more of that kind of stuff. But guess what, Jody? The years prior, he did that stuff all the time. It's not that big of a deal. You have to do it in the modern NFL because you're not allowed to work with coaches at the facility. So you have to find other ways to get better. And that's the good part of it. Jalen Hurts is always trying to get better. He's always working with Quincy Avery in Atlanta. He's always doing extra work. That part's awesome. I'm just saying the overly produced videos, the hype of this kind of crap is just out of control. It's not just Jalen Hurts. It's not just Philadelphia. It's all over. You got Aaron Donald doing his handiwork with the knives. I'm sure you've seen that, the fake knives. Obviously, they're not real knives. Working on his handwork. That's one of the greatest players of all time. It's fun to watch, but it's not meaningful. I mean, people act like this stuff is meaningful. That's my issue.
All right. And if you are one of those out there who retweeted with a comment or commented directly on the tweet that you saw that included the video, whatever, you know who you are. You know if you're foolish enough to have forfeit that your evaluation of the kind of year that Jalen Hurts is going to have increased yesterday because you saw this heavily produced video, then, as I said earlier, shame on you. I think it's a really small Eagle fans aren't going to fall for that stuff because it's thrown right in your face. It's a movie is what it is. It's not real video of actual football workouts. It's a movie. They produced it like a movie. So if you fell for it, we'll give you a pass. Just don't be so stupid again. But if
by
you didn't,
by the way, Jody, at the end, I'll give him credit. It even says directed by a man by the name of Griffin Glendenning, who, good job, Griffin. You did a good job with that. Yeah, it's silly. But I can't tell you how many people sent me this. This is awesome. I mean, I don't know what to say.
I didn't get any of those, so I'm hoping that percentage is even more minuscule than you think it is. All right, which lends itself to another question for you. Walking in the kitchen last night, I don't know if it was either before or after, had dinner. But my wife always watches 6 ABC News at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever. And Jamie Apodi was on. And she did a quickie hit interview with Sal Paolantonio from ESPN. We should try and get Sal on, but that whole ESPN thing, they don't like you doing other stuff. They're probably not going to be successful, but we should reach out to Sal just the same. But that's an ABC. Channel 6 is Disney, which is same big happy family with ESPN. So Sal's going to show up there all the time. So he's on with Jamie Apodi. And she asked this question of him, so I will ask it to you. Who has more pressure on him for the 2021 season, Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni? Newbies both, in a big spot here in Philadelphia. Doesn't get any bigger than quarterback and head coach. Who has more pressure on him for this upcoming season, the QB or the coach?
The quarterback. For the major reason, he's got one chance. That's it. Nick Sirianni will get 2 chances, I believe. Even if it's really bad, I think they'll blame it on the quarterback and say, okay, we got to draft a quarterback. We got to get Deshaun Watson, and Nick Sirianni will get that mulligan. So to me, for that simple reason, Jalen Hurts gets 1 chance, man. No mulligans, 1 opportunity. This is it. Succeed or don't. And, as Brandon said, not necessarily that he's out of here, but he's going to be the backup quarterback, or he is going to be out of here. So it's one and done. Nick Sirianni will get at least 2 years for the reason I just mentioned. And also, Jeffrey Lurie's not going to admit, oh, I screwed up. I made this embarrassing hire. He's not going to do that in 1 year. Even though he seems, as he gets older, he seems to get more and more impatient. I think Nick Sirianni, worst case scenario, has 2 years. So by that definition, it's got to be Jalen.
This is why I like my partner, because he's a smart man, because that's exactly what I was going to say. And that's exactly what I said to myself when I was watching the news. And Sal Paolantonio said, there's more pressure on Nick Sirianni. And I looked at the TV scans and said, whoa. Sirianni's got he's got multiple years here.
Yeah.
Like John just said, there's no way that the owner's going to pull the plug after 1 year, unless he does something like go into his office and go, yes, I'm not going to be here for the Monday morning meetings that you want after game days. I'm the coach. Sorry, Mr. Laurie, I'm busy on Mondays. Well, then, yeah, he can get himself fired. If he wants to talk his way out of the job and refuse to acknowledge who hired him and who the real boss is, the owner, that's the only way he gets fired. He's going to be given some leeway to prove that he is or isn't up to the job. Whereas you're right, Jalen Hurts has got 1 year. That's it, which I think is borderline unfair to him. Now, some people say or argue that you're a second-round pick. You don't get multiple years, that you get that one jump into the spot. Unless you're a first-round pick or a high first-round pick, you're not going to get multiple years to stink the joint out and be given a reprieve and a second shot. So I guess in that way it could be. But it's really difficult under a first-year coach, a new system, to say, yeah, by the way, you need to win and win immediately. Otherwise, your day with this organization is over and done with. But I do think that's what he's facing. When we had Brandon on last segment, he mentioned a possibility is a competition at quarterback next year. That's the worst case scenario and highly unlikely. Either Jalen Hurts is going to be the man or somebody else is going to be the man. There's not going to be a competition to find out who is the man that's going to include Jalen Hurts. No, he's either going to sink or swim. There's not going to be any floating involved here. We're going to make a decision after this guy in basically probably less than a year. They'll probably know what they're going to do 8 or 9 games in. But there's absolutely more pressure on Jalen Hurts. I couldn't believe Sao Paulo said there's more pressure on Nick Sirianni.
Well, not everybody can think as logically and clearly as we can right off the top of our head.
Good point, John. Very good.
But I agree with you. I've said this numerous times. I don't think it's fair to Jalen Hurts, number one. I don't think he can prove it. I've said this constantly. I don't think he can seize the job. I think when we look forward, and we're talking this time next year, Jody, they're going to be looking for a quarterback. They're going to have their quarterback because of where we are in the calendar. But if we're talking pre-draft, they're going to be talking about moving up in the draft. They're talking about getting in a position to get Deshaun Watson or whomever. That's where they're going to be, because I don't see the ceiling up. Now, if they win 12 or 13 games, yeah, that's the slim path Jalen Hurts has. Keep winning, and you stay on the field. They're never going to take you off the field if you keep winning. But, man, that is a small path to navigate. So there is incredible pressure on Jalen Hurts. And there's different situations. You know, you mentioned second-round pick. Drew Lock gets opportunity after opportunity after opportunity out in Denver as a second-round pick. But they're also looking for the answer. They just can't find the answer. They're only playing it because they have to play him. Where the Eagles have had the advantage will have the advantage, the 3 first-round picks, most likely, if Carson Wentz plays in Indianapolis, and all the money to do whatever they will need to do to either get a quarterback in the top 10 or go out and get a veteran quarterback. Incredibly unfair to Jalen Hurts, incredibly pressure-filled position, because it's you're throwing a toddler into the deep end of the pool and say swim. That's it. That's what the Eagles are doing. And if you don't, we're going to the next toddler. That went down a grim path, but you get my point. It's a bad analogy, but you get my point.
No, it's a fine analogy. I'm going to add to it, as a matter of fact. That toddler that you're throwing into the deep end of the pool, let's say this is what transpires. This would be, John, my favorite, a hypothetical question for you. He doggy paddles his way from the deep end down to the shallow end and is able to stand up. He's not showing you Mark Spitz-like tendencies with a great form and goes flying down the other end of the pool, but he makes it safely. He negotiates it well enough to the doggy paddle that he can get to the shallow end and he can stand on his own 2 feet. And that would equate to, on the field, the Eagles going 9-7. And oh, by the way, because of a late season victory, whoever they finish in a tie with in the division, be it the Giants, the Washington football team, or the Cowboys, they win the tiebreaker. And they win the NFC East this upcoming season at a not wowing anybody 9-8 this year. Jalen Hurts is the 22nd ranked quarterback in the National Football League. He's not dead at the bottom. He's not in the top half. We'll slot him in there at about 22, 23 with the commensurate numbers that go with it. More touchdown passes than interceptions, but he does throw some interceptions. His completion percentage is certainly better than the 50-something, but it's in the low 60s. In a league now, you want to see your quarterback be above 65. He's close to it, but he's not quite there. The Eagles are in that gray area middle ground, which they don't want to be. They want to be either he's our guy, he breaks out. Unquestionably, we've got an advantage now because we got Jalen Hurts with years to run on his rookie deal, better than other teams in the league, and he's not a washout. Oh, my God, we roll the dice, and, man, did we come out craps. He's in that gray area. Who's making that call? Is it Jeff Lurie? Is it Howie Roseman? I'm sure it's a combination of the two, but at the end of the day, one of the two has a stronger position. Who's making that call?
Yeah, it's definitely Jeffrey and Howie. Anytime it's the quarterback, and that's not rare, by the way. I've been critical of Jeffrey overreaching throughout the past couple of years, and I'll continue to be because I think he has, but not when it comes to the coach and the quarterback. I mean, that's what owners get involved in. That's the face of your franchise, off the field, on the field. You got to be involved in that kind of decision making. Otherwise, you're a poor owner because then you're apathetic. You don't care, and that's even worse. So I have no problem with the owner getting involved with those types of decisions, and that's where that gray area is gray for this reason, Jody. We're going to go back to draft night on 2019 and say to ourselves 2020 and say to ourselves, what did the Eagles really believe when they drafted Jalen Hurts? Was it about getting a cost-effective backup quarterback, or did they really believe that he had a future as a starter in this league? That's the gray area. Which one? Was it just an insurance policy, or was it a real effort to get a player they thought had a chance to be a starter? The gray area, if they think he can be a legitimate starter, if that evaluation came back and said, this guy's a good player, then he has a chance. I think it's the other one. I think it was about getting a cost-effective backup, and they're already looking at next year and saying, okay, what are we going to do?
Right, but here's where I'll give Howie Roseman credit, and I don't think too many others are willing to go there like I am. I agree with you. I think a cost-effective backup was the main reason, was the number one reason. But it wasn't solely that. That part of it was because they used a second-round pick on him, not a third or a fourth, but a second-round pick was, and, comma. There's a comma in there, not period, and move on. A comma, so it's one big sentence. And by the way, Carson Wentz, very injury-riddled career to this point. If need be, and this guy gets the chance, and he's actually as good or better than Carson Wentz, we're not going to be afraid to give him the football and make him our starting quarterback. I think it was actually a combination of two. A lot of things you want to be able to say it's either or, one or the other. I do believe it's kind of both in this one. And that's why if Jalen Hurts turns out to be the man here in Philadelphia, wins the job, jumps into the top half of quarterback rankings this upcoming year, I'm going to give Howie Roseman a lot of credit for it because he did have nerve enough. And I guess we got to give Jeffrey some credit too because
deserves. And by the way, we'll have the answer to that question, whether it's or whether it's and 8, 9, 9, and 8. You'll have the answer to that question by how the Eagles react to that.
Fair enough. John McMullen, Jody McDonald, you Mac guys. Aaron Bird's 365, quickie timeout coming. And then Kevin Kinkead, Crossing Broad, joins us next.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull beef jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Mac guys here with Young Birds 365. Joining us now. He looks pretty relaxed from his home studios. He covers it all for crossingbroad.com, all teams, Philadelphia, including that soccer team that he loves. But when we get him on, we ask him mostly about the Philadelphia Eagles. From Crossing Broad, Kevin Kinkead here with us on Birds 365. KK, how you be?
I'm doing good, gentlemen. I got my 2012 Discover Orange Bowl.
Oh, there we go.
T-shirt on
West Virginia. The first we get it in early, huh?
Yeah, West Virginia 70, Clemson 33. Coincidentally, that was probably the last good bowl game that we ever played. Because
70, 70 is a pretty good spot to put on somebody. But Jody, I mean,
hold on. Was that Geno?
It was Geno Smith. It was Tavon Austin.
Yeah, how about that?
It was all those guys. And then Clemson went on to fire their defensive coordinator and win, 2 national championships. So one team went clearly in one direction, and the other team went in the other direction.
I never advocate firing anybody, but if you give up a 70 spot, you're a defensive coordinator. You're going to have some issues.
I think you have to. I think there was a famous quote too before that game where Dabo Swinney said, "I hope that everybody talks about the Clemson defense after this game." And ironically, they were talking about the Clemson defense, but for all the wrong reasons.
And by the way, you said last good bowl effort by West Virginia. It was also the last good effort made by Geno Smith.
True.
And
arguably Tavon Austin, Who, by the way, was probably ahead of his time.
Yeah,
as
we
a
peaked early.
Manufactured touch player.
We peaked early. I think the best bowl we played in since then is like the Poulon Weed Eater Bowl. I don't even know if that's still around, but that was like where we went after that. So figure.
I'll give Geno this much because I'm a Jet. You're a West Virginia guy. I'm a Jet guy, and I had to watch Geno Smith get punched by a teammate and never achieve anything as the quarterback. He's got a little cockroach in him because he's still in the damn league. He's gonna be Seattle's backup again this year. Guy's done nothing, and 8 years later, he's still in the league.
But you have to admire it, don't you? You know, you find a way to hang on to keep cashing those checks.
Chase Daniel would be the best example of that.
Wasn't there
Andrew
the stat
Brandt
that was like
calls them business Hall of Famers.
There was like a stat going around that Chase Daniel had earned something like X millions of dollars for only playing in a certain amount of games. I think the ratio was like the all-time like fewest games, but most amount of money he's ever made. So yeah, from a purely business sense, you have to admire and respect that.
Yeah, no question. By the way, Jody's shot at the Philadelphia Union. That's the best team in Philadelphia. But I wanted to.
Can either of you guys spell Union for me? I'm just me.
We'll get Jody down to a game.
Not a soccer guy. What can I tell you?
No, it's all good.
I did want to talk to you about this cottage industry, Kevin, and we were going back and forth on Twitter a little bit. And it started with Ben Simmons, probably in the Sixers. And you cover the Sixers a lot as well. And you saw this every off season. You know, Ben would be in the gym taking jump shots and everybody, oh, wow, Ben looks great. Ben could be out there with Jody and me, and we're old and you're still young, Kevin. We had BLG at 6'8". Jody was once Bob Cousy from a point guard perspective. But you can do whatever you want against nobody's in the gym. When you get out on an NBA floor, it doesn't matter. And we've seen that year after year after year. Now it's become this cottage industry, though. And players are smart, man. They're trying to build their brands. And they're trying to put these videos on Instagram and all social media. Man, fans get fired up about them. Why do they think this stuff matters?
I don't know. It's just I try to look at it from their perspective. I think the three of us probably have the kind of the veteran curmudgeon kind of take where we're just like this doesn't matter at all. You know, it's not live ball reps. It's just window dressing. It really doesn't mean anything. I don't know. I mean, they're in the Eagles sense, people are excited, you know, to see Devonta Smith put on a helmet and a uniform for the first time, to see Jalen Hurts throw into wide open guys. I don't know. I guess it just gets them excited. You know, I think it's different from the Sixers in the sense where Ben Simmons is hammering home a specific skill that everybody's expecting and knows that is a weakness in his game. And so you're creating this expectation of like, oh, I'm going to do it this year. You know, this is with the video that you're getting. It's the 3-pointer specifically. Whereas Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith is a relatively clean slate still. So it's just kind of generic highlights. It's not like it'd be different if it was, everybody said that Jalen Hurts can't throw a long ball in year number 2. And then he goes out in the summer and we get nothing but clips of him throwing these perfect 50-yard, perfect trajectory balls down the field in Tuscaloosa or something like that. But I don't know. It's a thing that the kids love. And, I hate to say it, but when we do that stuff on the website, just be like a 30-second video clip of them throwing to receivers or throwing to Quez Watkins or whoever. Ton of hits, ton of traffic, like page views. It's the easiest thing ever. Here's Jalen Hurts throwing some stuff, drop in the video clip and write a couple sentences, and people love it. People read it. So I you don't have to understand why, but if the kids like it.
I got you. I mean, Xander, our producer, will tell you, I think the biggest video we ever did on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel was my crappy iPhone practice video from Eagles practice. But people just click on it. It's
maybe that's the equivalent. Maybe, I remember growing up, I had, so I'm 36 and I didn't have AOL 3.0 until I was in junior high. Right. But, we had posters on the wall. Right. And we watch Stuart Scott and Kenny Mayne and all those dudes on ESPN every morning. So I think the Instagram video clips is kind of like the modern day equivalent of having that poster on the wall of your favorite player or whatever. But now it's digital. Right. So it's kind of like a digital expression of what you like and what you're excited for, where, and then you could go deeper into the fan tokens and the NFTs and stuff like that, where I think people live in this digital world that we didn't live in back in the day. I don't think kids have like a bookshelf like this, like I do, you know, where you have your collectibles and your tangible items that you can hold and stuff like that. So maybe they place more value in these 30-second video clips than we do. And maybe it's a generational thing and we're just never going to understand it.
All right. So let me get this right. You're 36 and you're an old man. So what the hell does that make me? All right, never mind. No, I don't want to do that math right now. Thank you for pointing that out. Let me add this to the conversation. I think part of the reason why, and Johnny couldn't be more surprised by how many people were actively engaged and positively reviewing the video on Jalen Hurts. I think part of it is Jalen Hurts is a likable guy. Even more so than Ben Simmons. And yes, some people would get sucked in. Look at Ben making 3-point jumpers out there in California. I think that was more optimistic about the Sixers than it was about Ben himself. But I think people really want to see Jalen Hurts come through and get the job done because he's handled himself well. Ben Simmons does from time to time, and he accentuated that by his comment after the Sixers' last loss. It is what it is. I am what I am. That's Ben. I think Jalen Hurts would more take it on himself and say, that's my fault. That's my problem. That's my issue. I'm the starting quarterback. Look at me. I'm the bottom line. I just think people want Jalen Hurts to succeed because I think they've formed an opinion on him that he's the kind of guy that you want to root for as the Eagles quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it resonates more for sure. And he's always been like that too. You know, I mean, Ben played 1 year in college and then came out and was the #1 draft pick. You know, Jalen Hurts lost his job at Alabama, and then he transferred. You know, I mean, if you want to go the old blue-collar Philadelphia cliche, he's a guy who's had to work for it and has had to overcome adversity. And there's a relatability to that people see that and they want him to overcome and they want him to be successful. So, you know, it's not like these carefully curated, I'm going to shoot a bunch of 3-pointers, then he comes out and does nothing. You know, so he's got the benefit of the doubt if people still think he's a relatively unknown quantity. We don't really know what he is. And so I think there's a gravity more towards these videos that are received well because he presents himself in a certain way that Ben Simmons does not. And Ben, to his credit, I think he's gotten better with his public persona and with the media over the years. I think he was a lot more comfortable this year doing Zoom calls without 50 of us all sort of like on top of him, asking him about the jump shot day in and day out, and showed a little bit more maturity. But yeah, you know, some of these NBA guys come in, they're highly paid, top draft picks. They're surrounded by 12 guys who are all giving them different advice or bad advice or whatever. And I think, you know, the humble nature of Jalen Hurts is just something that resonates here and people like about him. And he also has the benefit of the doubt of still being a relative unknown here. So I think that's why you get the response you get for that stuff versus what you get with Ben Simmons, where now with Ben, it's like reminds me of the Carson Wentz thing a little bit in the sense of like, you feel like the relationship between the player and the city is irreparably fractured to the point where even if he did come back with a jump shot, it's like, you know, how much are people buying that anyway? I think if you did a poll right now asking people if they'd rather have Ben Simmons back or Mark Zumoff back, I think Zoo would win in a landslide. So
he should win in a landslide, by the way.
Can I say something, by the way, John? I've noticed, and this is an observation that I have, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. I've noticed that Philadelphia Eagles beat writers cannot stand Ben Simmons.
No, because I'm one of those guys that people say can't stand Ben Simmons, but I think it's ironic because at the time, and you can go back, I was on Atlantic City at the time, and Mike Gill could tell you this. I thought Ben Simmons was going to be the guy. Yeah. I thought because of the way the NBA was going, I think a center can't be the centerpiece of a championship team. You need that guy who can close games. You need the wing player, the guy who can create his own offense. I said Ben Simmons has got to be the guy. He's going to be a superstar. So that was me originally. Yeah. And I was wrong. I was completely wrong. I had to admit on air I'm wrong. But now that I admit I'm wrong, the people that didn't hear the first part of it assume I've always hated Ben Simmons.
I like the cherry pick. Yeah.
I could care less. I root for every kid to be successful. I just recognized early this isn't going to work. Because I think people look at this playoff series and say this is new. You go back, Kevin, you go back to Boston, TJ McConnell had to take over that team at times.
Yeah.
Because then was you go back to obviously when Jimmy Butler was here, but the Sixers took too long to go to Jimmy Butler. It's happened over and over and over again. So I recognized it early. Now, if you're talking about last year, he hates Ben Simmons.
And Jimmy Kempsky was tweeting about it. BLG was tweeting about it. I just found it curious, because you guys have a different perspective as being media members who have to cover athletes in the same way, but you're observing this specific team from afar, But I do really think there were a lot of similarities in the Ben and Carson Wentz thing, just to the fact where, I think a lot of the negative criticism that each guy got respectively was didn't always come from an inherently negative spot. It was like, hey, we've seen greatness in these guys, and we know that there is more to pull out of them, And I think the frustration comes from the fact that, they have tool A, B, and C, and if they could just add X, Y, and Z, or really just add X, that would be it. So I think that was the frustration in a lot of it. But again, with Jalen Hurts, I just think there's more of a down-home relatability there that seems to resonate. And he's got the benefit of the doubt of not being here as long as Ben and not having summer after summer of 3-point shots and Instagram videos and things like that. So that to me, that's how I would parse that,
Yeah, with Carson, real quick, Jody, before you jump in, with Carson, I feel the same way. It doesn't compute to me how someone as talented, because I'm not that talented, as talented as Carson Wentz or Ben Simmons can lose utterly their competence, lose it all. It's just almost the blink of an eye. So it's tough to understand from an outside perspective. No question about that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But let me get you looking at crystal ball since you brought him up there. Both you guys, Carson Wentz, he is now in Indianapolis. He, unlike Jalen Hurts, who hasn't been officially made the starting quarterback by the coach. Oh, there's no question Frank Reich is named Carson Wentz is starting quarterback, and that's going to be the case when the Colts open up the season. If they get off to a good start, let's say they're 3-1, somewhere thereabout, and Carson is putting up better numbers than he did last year for the Eagles, but not 2017 MVP type numbers, somewhere in the middle there. What's going to be the sentiment here in Philadelphia? What the hell did we do? Why would we even move away? Carson was the man here. Why would we? Or will it be that idiot Carson? He screwed us. He got out of town. He never wanted to be here. He stuck it to Philadelphia. What is the general stance going to be among Philadelphians, that includes media and fans, about Carson Wentz if he gets off to a solid start in Indianapolis?
There's going to be revisionist history regardless. There's going to be people saying, I was right, you were wrong. If he plays poorly, they're going to say the same thing, where it's just we need to go back and relitigate all this stuff that doesn't really need to be that. But that works. It plays well. People like talking about that stuff. Everybody's got to say that they were either the first one to do it or they were correct or this person was wrong. And it's just, I think the more pragmatic side of the Eagles fan base, if there is one, would probably just come to the conclusion of saying, look, it ran its course. I think everybody naturally knows that the player fan franchise relationship naturally ends. And even if Carson goes on to be successful in Indy, it doesn't mean that the Eagles made the wrong move to trade him, because naturally that's just, these things run their course. That's the end. Markelle Fultz was the same way. Ben Simmons will be the same way. If Ben Simmons is traded to the Trailblazers or something, then he ends up going on to be successful there. You're always going to be able to explain that away as saying, look, that ran its course here in Philadelphia. The goal was always to maximize Joel Embiid's prime. And so those two things were not congruent, those two timelines, and maybe Carson Wentz doesn't improve without the change of scenery. There's no guarantee that he would have been any different coming back this year. So, but to answer the question, Joey, there will be plenty of revisionist history. We'll probably do it on our site. People will click on it. I hate the fact that they will click on it, but they will, because that's just what it is. I mean, superstars garner headlines, and hopefully if the Eagles make enough headlines of their own, then it won't have to lead the site. Maybe it'll be story number 2,
Yeah, you're exactly right, Kevin. People put things in vacuums. So they say if Carson Wentz goes to Indianapolis and wins a Super Bowl, that doesn't mean it would have happened here. It was done here. Same thing with Ben. I hope Ben is successful wherever he ends up. Doesn't mean it was going to work here. And I think both cases, that's the way you want to look at it. So I want to circle back to Jalen Hurts, though, because in Jalen Hurts' instance, and I've been asking a lot of our guests the same question, he's got a really small path. He's got 1 year to prove he's going to be the future quarterback of this team, other than just exploding and doing things none of us expect, winning 12, 13 games. Can he win this job? Or have the Eagles already started thinking about, with all the draft picks, with all the financial flexibility that they're going to be getting back, are they already looking at the next quarterback?
Yeah, that's hard to say. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts is the guy who's got the right mindset for the approach, whereas I think if, you look at this season as kind of a transitional rebuilding kind of year, then the pressure is he's not going to have this weight of crushing expectations on his shoulders. It's not the same as trading a bunch of picks and going up to number 2 to get him. Like, at the end of the day, he was a second round draft pick, and he finds himself in a tenable situation of being the guy in a year where you're basically on a fact-finding mission, So you thrust yourself into the spotlight and you take the opportunity to claim it, but it's not like we're heaping the same expectations on him that we had of Carson Wentz. I don't think what everybody expected of Michael Vick is going to be the same as what's expected of Jalen Hurts. Like, if you gave a quarterback the ability to come into a situation and pick whatever they want, they would probably tell you that this kind of year under a first-year head coach, but you've got some weapons. You drafted the Heisman Trophy winner. You got some decent ball carriers. I mean, I think situationally it probably works out in the sense that he can thrive. So, I mean, he's in the right headspace, the right mind set to do it. And you're basically just going through this year trying to figure out what the hell you are, and that's it,
KK, the Eagles have, how would I want to describe it? A weird schedule this upcoming year. They played the Cowboys, major rival, week 3 of the season. Then the week after, here in Philadelphia, which may even make it worse, Andy Reid comes in with probably the most talented team in the NFL, in the Chiefs. The Eagles could get off to a pretty poor start. Let's even give them 1-1 out of the first 2. But they're sitting there 1-3 because they lose to the Cowboys, and then they get it handed to them by Andy Reid. That's bad, 1-3. But here's the good news. I don't know that anybody in the NFC East is going to be 3-1 at that stage. The last segment of the season, they've got last 6 games, the 5 divisional games, and the Jets, which is winnable. I'm a Jet guy, but I know the Jets aren't going to be great this year. They could finish up really strong, but can they dig themselves a hole, not only in the standings, from a perspective, an organizational perspective, and a fan perspective, that they're already dead and buried and gone, and those last 6 games aren't going to be important? How important is it going to be for everyone to be able to judge the season over 16 full games? Because you really should do that. That's the end of this. You look at his standings, the end of the season, that's what your record is. It's what you did over those 16 games, not, ooh, great early, lousy late. Ooh, lousy early, great late. It is the 16 games. Will everyone be able to not worry about the fact that it could be a really slow start and a pretty fast finish?
I hope so. And I hope that everybody goes into this season with the mindset of, you have to have low expectations. It doesn't mean that the season can't be fun, but if you have low expectations or no expectations, you cannot be disappointed. Everybody has to understand that this team is not going to the Super Bowl. This team probably is not going to the playoffs. This is a fact-finding mission. I have a figurative notepad here with 100 questions written down on it. My goal at the end of the season is to answer as many of those questions as possible. And if you can win some games or make a run at the end, that's great too. But to me, that's all extra. I think to answer the question, Jody, every team needs to have that kind of year where you're in between. Nothing's really expected of you, but you do some fun things to get people excited about the future. I don't know if Eagles fans are like that and they can parse it, the vacuum versus the totality of the process, right? But, you go back to like the Sixers 2016, 2017 season, to use another basketball comparison here. That was a fun year. Joel Embiid finally got on the floor. TJ McConnell had that shot against the Knicks. And like, you didn't expect anything from that team this year, but you saw some glimpses of like, what can they be? And you answered some questions about Joel Embiid and some of the other players on that team. And to me, that's the best mindset to go into it with. You cannot go into this Eagles season thinking like record or playoffs or any of that kind of stuff. Take it and put it in the dumpster. It does not matter. You have myriad questions that need to be answered. If you have 100 questions and you can answer 80 of them, to me, that's a successful season. I don't care if they go 0-17. But if they lose each of those games by 1 point and Jalen Hurts looks great doing it, congrats, you've got your quarterback for the future. So I think people got to look at this in a completely different way. I think that's probably folly to think that people will do that, but that's my detached.
I'm going to make one prediction, Kevin. If they go 0-17, Jalen Hurts is not going to be the quarterback next year.
Zero chance to be the quarterback going
forward.
But
I do want to, last one for me, I want to talk about those expectations. And I want to, not a Mount Rushmore, but I'm going to go the easy one. But I'm going to, Eagles, Flyers. Eagles aren't ready. Flyers aren't ready. Phillies aren't ready. Sixers probably aren't ready. I'm going to throw the Union in there as well. They're going to disappoint us in the playoffs. But who's the closest Philadelphia team to really being a significant contender? Still the Sixers?
Oh, man. I think you would have to say that.
Yeah.
Especially as long as Joel Embiid's here and he's in his prime, that has to be the answer. The Phillies, I don't know what the hell they are. The Flyers, I don't know what they are. The Eagles are rebuilding in a transition year. The Union are very solid, but have to prove themselves in the playoffs. But yeah, look, I mean, you're one Ben Simmons trade or one free agent acquisition from everybody being back on the bandwagon, you know? So, I mean, the existing group that they have there, I don't know if that says more about the Sixers or just about all the other teams you listed, but yeah, to answer the question, it would be the Sixers for sure. Yeah, by far. Yeah.
I agree that it is the Sixers, and it's kind of like being the tallest midget in the circus. Not that the Sixers are right on the cusp, but in comparison, not good. And by the way, I love the way you laid it out, Kevin, on what expectations should be coming into this season and the way Eagle fans would be best served looking at it. I hope you are 100% right. I think you're 100% wrong.
That's not what the fan base is. I mean, I get it.
It never has been, and it's not going to be this year. And I'll tie it into what we just discussed. Because the Sixers got bounced when they shouldn't have gotten bounced, because the Flyers didn't even make the playoffs, because the Phillies are probably not going to make the playoffs, nobody's going to go, oh, okay, as long as we're exciting, as long as we're fan-friendly. It doesn't matter if we're losing games. We're answering 90 out of the 100 questions that Kevin Kinkead had. That's a good thing. There, we'll just sit here. No,
because they're looking for because they're looking for something now.
If this team gets out, who did we have on, Johnny Mac, that had him 0-8?
Bob Groats.
Groats.
0-9.
You know, a couple of bad breaks. This team could be 0-8. Yeah. They'll burn the stadium down. They go 4-11 and come back and go 0-8. No, the niceties that we're trying to portray here on Birds 365 not happening come October if the Eagles are losing week after week after week.
No, I know, I get it. I know that pragmatism doesn't sell in Philadelphia, and it's not a strong suit of our fan base, and it never has been. And that can be a good thing and a bad thing because, you know, it keeps scrutiny on guys who deserve scrutiny, criticism for people who deserve criticism, and it keeps things kind of hyper-focused on the here and now. You know, it's the what have you done for me lately? You know, it's passé to kind of look at things in totality. But ultimately, that's probably the more logical way to do it. So, you know, it's a difference between emotional responses and the way the Philadelphia sports fans look at things and, you know, the pragmatic kind of detached observer, you know. But look, I mean, I think people just got to understand. I think they'll be better off when they convince themselves that the NFL is not college football. You don't just reload and restock every year. Even the best GMs in the world have drafts that are off. You know, even the best quarterbacks get old and have to switch out. This isn't Bama and Clemson where you just pull in 5-star recruits every year. Like every natural, you know, epoch of a football team, there's ebbs and flows, right? You know, we said that they were dysfunctional when Chip Kelly was fired. We said they were dysfunctional when Andy Reid was fired. Okay, so what are we talking about? 5-year windows there where they had that transitional rebuilding year. They were pretty good. 10-6 years under Chip. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl in year 2. So, like, people, if they're smart enough and they want to try pragmatism instead of emotional knee-jerk stuff, it's there. The history is there to say that, like, these are the time periods that cycle through, and we know that year 1 looks like this, year 2 looks like this, year 3, 4, 5 look like this. So if you want to analyze the patterns in that way, maybe give it a try. I don't think that'll play very well, but I'll try.
By the way, Kevin, I love your approach. I think you should call up one NovaCare Way and tell Nick Sirianni, answer these 100 questions. I'm serious. I love that approach. Answer these questions, and then you have a successful season. But you're right; it's not going to play.
But is that not what it is? I mean, we all got to tell ourselves that like this year ain't it. Like we don't expect it, and we got to be honest with ourselves. Like, yes, it's going to be annoying to sit there with my dad on Sunday afternoon and watch the Eagles get their doors blown off, right? But if I get through the end of the season and I have solid answers to 80 of 100 questions that I've written down, and I feel good about what they're going to be, then I'm fine with it, because I told myself at the beginning of the year, this ain't it. Like, that's not what it's going to be. So like you have to, for your own mental health and for the sake of like keeping yourself sane, at least be able to have like some foresight to kick the can down the road at least 1 year. Like, we know the NFL rebuilds don't take 3, 4, 5 years. You're not in cap hell for as long as people on Twitter make it sound like.
Yeah.
So like they could turn the corner with those draft picks very easily in the next year, but you should try to enjoy it as a fan, not knowing that you're not going to have a soul crushing like pressure on you every win to feel that you feel bad about a loss. Like, try to just take a step back and look at it from a macro perspective and understand that this year nothing's expected of them, but if they do a lot of good things, then you feel a lot better about the next year. So,
all right, macro or micro, emotional or succinct, you'll answer a lot with the answer to this question. The Philadelphia Eagles in 2023 wearing Kelly green is important or not important?
It's the least important thing on the planet. I could not
change. He is honest with you, folks.
I could not care any less about the Kelly green. See, here's the thing. I'm going to age myself again, and I don't mean this in any kind of disrespectful way, but I think like I'm what they call a geriatric millennial. I don't know why they call us that, but like there's like a group of us who are at the very end of the generation who like exist, who were around when you actually had like landlines and stuff like that, right? So a lot of my generation associates Kelly green with like losing seasons, like no playoff wins, lack of success, kind of futility and whatnot. And then like when we got a little bit older, when we were teenagers or whatever, 1996, when they made a switch to the midnight green, like, they started to become really good under Andy Reid, and Donovan came in and whatnot. So I don't know if that's fair or not. I don't know if that's reasonable or not, but there's just sort of this emotional disconnect with people my age to Kelly green, because it's like, well, they lost a lot of games wearing that color. So I don't know if that's stupid or not, but at the end of the day, I think the players like wearing a bunch of different combinations. I think the variety is good. The one helmet rule is stupid. There's really no reason for it to exist in the first place. And you look at like, they don't got to be the Oregon Ducks, right? They don't have to have 7,000 different combinations that they're going to wear against Washington State and Washington in back-to-back weeks. But like, yeah, it's different. Why not? I mean, midnight green's been around for more than 20 years now. So what it doesn't hurt anybody, but in the grand scheme of things, Kelly green is not that important. It's like the least concerning thing ever.
It's the age group that you fall into will dictate everything. And you have one, John has one, I have one, and that usually decides Kelly green. You're right on about what did the Eagles do during it. You don't remember good Kelly green days. Whole bunch of people remember Reggie White Kelly green days.
There were.
So that's why they want to go back to the Kelly
But it would be cool. Like, it would be cool to see Fletcher Cox wear Kelly green, because Reggie wore Kelly green, Jaws wore Kelly green, so you make those historic associations, and to have like to kind of honor those guys who were good back in the day. Like, I get that. Like I said, I don't know if it's fair or not. It just exists inherently in me. Like, I had this distaste for Kelly green, and I'm trying to come around on it a little more.
By the way, Kevin mentions the stupidity of the one helmet rule. The NFL has a reason for that. The reason for that, they claim, is safety, because they only want to fit the players for one helmet. And if you fit them for more than one helmet, it might screw things up, and you might have. This is a $13 billion industry. Worrying about fitting players for more than one helmet. So everything. That was the reason.
Yeah, that's a nothing answer. So I'm glad they look. I don't care about Kelly green, but if they fix a dumb rule in the process, then I think we all win, don't we?
Yeah, that's true.
As I've heard Kevin Kinkead, or at least I've read Kevin Kinkead say before, a nothing burger. Yes, that was a nothing burger answer. Ryan Goodell. We never get that from Kinkead when he joins us. KK, always a pleasure. Appreciate it. We'll be punching you up again soon enough. Thanks, buddy.
I appreciate that. Maybe I'll see you down at Ocean Drive where Jason Kelsey's guest
Yeah, I
bartending
was thinking
thing.
about it, but I'm already thinking about tapping out. Too much.
All right, well, maybe next time then.
Kate, thanks. That is
Kevin.
Kevin
All right, see you
Kinkead from
guys.
Crossing Broad here with us on Birds 365. All right, final timeout. Come back. I suggest we put a bow on the show here on Birds 365.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in,
Decisions,
the dark.
the dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid
as long as you face the fear.
and keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull beef jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Mac guys here on Birds 365, coming to the end of another successful show. Just my opinion. J-Mac, we know that Jason Kelsey is going to be down at Jersey Shore today doing some celebrity bartending, raising money for a great cause. I did not get the official release. I saw it mentioned in somebody's column somewhere. Is Jason going to be down there by himself? Other Eagles? What exactly is today's function going to include?
Some teammates are going to be with him. They haven't announced who yet. So it starts at 4 to 8 if you want to go down Ocean Drive in Sea Isle City. Proceeds for the Eagles Autism Foundation. So going to be a couple of Eagles there, celebrity bartending. But the only one confirmed is Jason. And we'll see. Maybe Travis will be back as well. He was seen with Jason down at Sea Isle. Before he went down to Tight End University, but now he's back. So who knows?
By the way, speaking of Tight End University, 0 chance Zach Ertz shows up today at the OD?
Less than 0. How's that?
Okay. What's the chance of Jalen Hurts?
You got me thinking there might be a 1% chance. Now my trip might be back on. Who knows?
Okay. I know Jalen Hurts was running a camp down in Alabama this week, his own individual camp, which hopefully is here in Philadelphia in years to come, but understandable why he's doing it in Alabama this week. Little spit in the eye to Norman, Oklahoma, since he was there last. He's not having his camp there, but that's just me trying to.
Could have been doing it for Devonta, though, so you never know who, because Devonta was there as well, so it might have been that type of situation. But one thing, Jalen's
so you're telling me if the Eagles had drafted someone other than Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts would have had his camp here in Philadelphia this year?
No.
Okay.
Wouldn't have had it in Philadelphia. Would have had it somewhere in Texas or, people like to be in the nice weather, Jody. It's nice weather here.
What's wrong with Philadelphia's weather right now?
No, but, people, all these things, Carson used to do it in, the first year he did it in North Dakota. Nobody showed up. A couple guys showed up. I'm joking. A bunch of guys showed up. But then he started doing it. He moved to Texas, started doing it there. It's usually Texas, Florida. You know how this stuff works. Okay. It's 90% of the time. It's just Texas or Florida.
Just wondering if Jalen Hurts is back in town, if an Eagle camp might break out.
I'm sure he'll be back.
It might break out on the Sea Isle Beach today. They get a videographer out there with a slow motion camera, and you see Jalen dropping back in that perfect spin, heading toward the Atlantic Ocean. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, I'll tell you why you're depressing me, Jody, because now you're putting this doubt in my mind. And I don't want to go down there. And now I think I have to go down there.
And John McMullen's got his phone video rolling, and we can incorporate that on tomorrow's show. Not happening, McMullen?
I got to go to Lowe's.
All right. That's why you want to be tuned here tomorrow on Birds 365. In addition to the fact that Paul Domowitch is going to join us. John McClain from the Houston Chronicle. That's the Sean Watson guy's name. Will probably come up once or twice. Will also join us. Be tuned as John McMullen reviews his local Lowe's and what he actually is able to inquire to upgrade Shea McMullen. Good day. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and